Let's freaking go. Good evening, Bob. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Jasmeet, I'm good, thank you. How are you, mate?
I'm freaking amazing, man. I'm freaking amazing. Well, welcome to our first podcast, everyone. It's a new podcast that we're trying to make sure that we have all the information in a very organized manner. The name of the podcast is Kiwis in Aussie. So anybody who's moving from New Zealand to Australia, this is going to be a helpful podcast to all of them. And obviously, I do comment a lot, as some of you would know and some of you don't. But what I really want to do is I want to make sure that we do this in a very organized way and we have all the data or all the PDFs all together to be able to make sure. And usually, when somebody's actually thinking about it or in the process of moving to Australia, they have a first question. And that is the most important question. And their question is, what city should I go to? So what I've done is, based on my own experience and what I've seen over the group, I've actually come up with about 8 questions that anyone ought to consider asking themselves to be able to get an answer. And after those questions, I'm going to share some data with you as well, as if to what city is doing what sort of opportunities do you have, what sort of jobs do you have, and what are going to be the appropriate city for you based on the questions and also the data that I'm going to be sharing. Yes, it's going to be still we're not covering all the cities. We're only really covering the top four: Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Perth, because those are the cities where most of the people are actually heading to, except with few exceptions like Darwin and Anti and some other cities as well. Well, without wasting any time further, I'm going to cover the first four, Bob, and you can cover obviously you have the PDF already, which my team has kindly created. Thank you, team. You are freaking amazing. All right, so I'm just going to cover the first four questions, and obviously then Bob's going to cover the next four. So the first four questions are: what are your career opportunities and in industry present in the city? The second question is: how does the cost of living compare to the other city, which we will be covering later on? And the third one is: what is the city's real estate market like? Is it affordable? What are the prospects for property investments? This is something that I will try to add some more context to it later on. And the fourth question is: what is the quality of life like, including factors like safety, healthcare, and education?
And the fifth one is how are the public transport and commuting options in the cities? The sixth question is what recreational and cultural activities does the city offer for you and for your family? Seventh is how important is the climate and the weather to your lifestyle preferences? That's the important one.
That's a big
And the
one.
last is And the last is how do the local communities and social networks align with your interests and values?
So just continuing with these questions, because most of the people, and I would say that's how the data, which I know based on the comments and posts that I've seen over the last year and a bit, that their top three cities are Brisbane is number one. I think 40% of the people are moving to Brisbane. That's just my guesstimate, not 100%. I really hope we could get more data on that. I think 30% of the people are actually moving to Melbourne after that, and the rest are, I would say, the next would be 20% would be Perth. Sydney is probably the smallest lot. I think about 5% people are moving to Sydney, and the rest five is the other cities like Darwin, Canberra, Anti, and the other cities as well. So what I want to do is, because the major sort of population that we have on the Facebook group, or people who are moving to Australia, are going through two top cities, which is actually Brisbane and Melbourne. Let's try and do some comparison, and at the same time, I will share some more data with you as if to how is it looking, how's the job market looking like in Sydney. So I'm just going to quickly start with Sydney. So kidney. You don't have to sell your kidney, by the way, to move to Australia. All right.
Oh, you never go for Sydney.
You,
Just
you actually
Sydney
don't
is
know. You're right,
complicated.
man. You're absolutely right. So I'm going to start with some data on Sydney. So Sydney's key industries are finance, technology, healthcare, and education. Job opportunities, high demand for IT professionals, financial analysts, healthcare workers. Current job opportunities, IT support officer, assistant accountant, accounts payable officer, virtual assistant. And the number of job vacancies in Sydney right now is about 37,000 jobs are available. The average sort of salary in Sydney is about $80,000. And the cost of the living is probably the highest in Sydney right now, which is about $3,800 per month. Quality of life is extremely high. The weather, by the way, which is one of those questions, one of those 8 questions, weather is probably extremely good as compared to Melbourne and Adelaide as well. Cost of living is high because of the housing. Housing, when it comes to housing, Sydney is the powerhouse of real estate. It's extremely expensive to buy a piece of real estate as compared to Melbourne. Brisbane is actually the second one as well.
So just to touch base, just meet like when you say it's quite expensive, right? Sydney. How so people from New Zealand, how do you compare Sydney with for example with Auckland? Do you
Yeah, so
reckon
look,
it's
it's
more
very close to Auckland market, I would say. The average sort of house is about $1.3 million in Sydney. Wherein Melbourne is about mid 900s, and Brisbane is about the same as well. So, to be honest, I think the first and foremost, which is the most important thing, is where are you going to get the job who's going to pay you the most money, right? So, moving on, just to quickly from this, just to give you some more comparison, Brisbane was far behind Melbourne, but because a lot of people are actually moving away from Melbourne to Brisbane as well, then that's why the real estate market is booming there too. So, a very important question that you would have to ask yourself is what kind of life do you want? What kind of debt do you want on yourself? And what sort of weather, I think, is probably the most important thing, because when it comes to fruits, veggies, and the day-to-day stuff, it's still pretty much very similar. Uh, but I think it's the real estate who will basically be driving a lot more. Well, probably the biggest factor when it comes to the cost of living in terms of that. What are your thoughts on that, my friend?
Yeah, look, yeah, so I think weather is a big one. So when I moved from New Zealand as well, there's a few things, right? Job opportunities, a living standard for the family and the weather. So Brisbane definitely has, a beautiful weather. A lot of sunny days, 300 plus sunny days, if I'm not wrong,
Yes, you're
in a
right.
year, which is quite beautiful. For it's a big change for someone coming from New Zealand to Australia, chasing up some more sunshine, and especially Brisbane with the Olympics coming up and all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Real estate market, so it's overall looking pretty promising.
Pretty promising,
Um,
yeah.
Whereas with Melbourne, it's picking up very nicely with the population and job opportunities. Real estate market is solid. There is
It's actually
a lot
going
of
a bit backwards, by the way, in Melbourne. Melbourne is
yes,
probably
yes.
the only city just slightly, even though it's a very slight number, but it's going backwards for sure. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So with Melbourne, what I noticed is, me coming here, I had options to look at properties. I could, look at properties in my budget. There was to me, it was more like a buyer's market, so I could tap into the
It is a
market.
buyer's market right now in Melbourne, by the way.
Yes. Yes. So I had options to choose from and look for the right property for me at a good price. So I think Brisbane and some of the other areas, it can be, a little bit more tricky
Yeah,
and
more tricky, yeah.
as compared to Melbourne. So there's more options, I think, in Melbourne
In
and
Melbourne,
property.
you're absolutely right, man. In Melbourne, you can still buy a house for about 650. It's a decent house that you can live in inner west or the north of Melbourne. There's still a lot of opportunity there. Yes, when you go
Absolutely.
south, southeast that's where the dollar is, and the average price is about a million and a bit. When you go to north in the west, a lot of places that you can still buy a decent house, 3 bedroom house for 650 actually, which was something that I was not expecting when I came to Melbourne. But yeah, look, there are places, a lot of opportunities for sure. Quickly, I want to move to Melbourne. So Melbourne key industries are technology, education, retail, manufacturing, job opportunities, strong need for software developers because it's an IT hub of Australia. Retail managers, current job opportunities, a lot of them are very similar to retail, store person, employment consultant, etc., etc. Number of vacancies in Melbourne right now is about 34,000 jobs that you have available. So a lot of jobs, guys. So you are more than welcome to come as soon as humanly possible and get a job. And average salary is about 75,000, but the cost of living is cheap. And when we compare to the cost of living in Sydney, it's close to about 3,800 a month. But the cost of living is actually about 25 to 2,700 a month, which is a huge difference. About $1,000 just for the rent, and I think some of the groceries as well because it's cheap. Quality of life is extremely high. Melbourne is known as a sports hub of Australia as well. Very diverse, amazing food. You cannot get over food at all. It's freaking amazing when you go to Melbourne City. The amount of stores, Chinatown, god damn it. I can go on and on and on. Quickly, I want to cover Brisbane while we're on it. Key industries, healthcare, tourism, construction. Construction is booming in Brisbane right now. Same as Perth. There are about 28,000 job vacancies that they have. Quality life is very relaxed. It's very similar to New Zealand culture, relaxed, laid back, as compared to what you're going to get in Sydney or Brisbane. Sorry, Sydney or Melbourne. Yeah, cost of living is moderate. I would say cost of living is obviously cheaper than Sydney, very close to Melbourne, but a touch higher because of the real estate market is booming and it's going absolutely crazy because I think the only driving factor in potentially all the cities is the real estate market. Quickly, I want to cover Perth. Perth key industries are mining, energy, healthcare, education. Currently, they have about 24,000 jobs available. A lot of significant demand for mining engineers and energy sector professionals, healthcare staff as well, because it's the resource hub of Australia. Western Australia has got all the resources that you can think of, especially uranium, which gets used in the batteries. And if I'm not mistaken, I think for the last time that I checked the stat, correct me if I'm wrong, please comment on that. I think Australia's got about 37% of the world's uranium, which is extremely important. So yeah, that's why it's cost of living is cheaper. The houses are going nuts there, but still, you can still find a decent house in Perth for sure. But definitely, that's something that you can still get in what do we call it, in Australia or in Perth in particular. Bob, I want to touch on this briefly because you shared with me this tip, and that's when I shared this on the group as well. So I get a lot of messages. Hey, mate, I've been trying to get a job. I haven't got it. I've been trying to get a job. I've applied like 50 to 100 jobs. I still haven't got any reply. Number one would be have you updated your CV yet? If you haven't
Yes.
updated your CV yet, that's a big one because what we had in New Zealand, it's very different to what we have in Australia. Get a professional, get a CV done so that you can actually, guys, you're trying to get a job, which is for 100,000, maybe 200,000, maybe more. Guys, spend $400-500 on a CV. Just get that updated. Get a job as soon as humanly possible. But now this is the tip that I really wanted to share, which Bob shared with me. I shared it on the group. People got crazy, and it worked for a lot of people. I got a lot of messages after that. What Bob did, Bob obviously applied for a lot of jobs, but he was not getting any interview. He was not getting any calls because of the simple reason that he had a New Zealand number on it and had a New Zealand address on it. All you got to do, all right, all you got to do is have an Australian address If you have a friend or a family, if not, tell me, I'll give you my address. Put my address on there if you're in Melbourne. And just get a number, Australian number, put it on your CV and see your life will be changing extremely fast and you'll be getting a lot of calls. Guys, there's about 24,000 in Perth. 34,000 of jobs available in Melbourne, 28,000, sorry, in Brisbane, 24,000 in Perth, and about $37,000 jobs in Sydney. So even though if you have to go to Sydney for a while and then change the job and move cities later on, Brisbane, guys, once you get in the city or get in the country, it's very easy for you to move. But you got to take that first step. I know it's hard. It's not easy. You know, you actually leaving everything behind, and it's a new start of the I would say, a journey. So take that step and do it. Bob, share that, man, because obviously you shared it with me, and it was a very helpful tip.
Yeah, that's so. What I did is, obviously, I made a quick trip to Australia as well, because the tickets are quite cheap, so you can always. It is quite a big step, moving countries, and I would highly recommend that if you can make a quick trip to Australia, you can find some quick cheap deals on for your flights and all that. And just even for a couple of nights or 3 days or whatever, come over, check out the city, check out the vibes, look at the job opportunities, and see if it is the right fit. And then you can always pick up the local number from the airport, and have, you can do those quick couple of things, apply your TFN or apply for your driving license conversion rate, and just get yourself ready so that when you're going to make the move, it's going to be a lot easier for you. You have less things to worry about. So I will highly recommend that. That helped me big times to actually come and visit the cities that I was considering, and then make a right decision for myself and the family. So yeah,
And
definitely putting local Australian number helped me. When I put the Aussie number, I was getting a lot of calls from the employers, and if you wanna, and you will not get it by just adding the number. You wanna make sure that your CV look professional, it looks up to date, and it has your most up to date experience, because we were getting CVs, from people they had they had no experience mentioned since 2008 or 2010. So you make sure that you have your current experience on there, so people can see what you're doing, and where your strength lies. And the expert, leave it to the experts to give your CV a
yes.
new look and make it look impressive, so that when the employers are looking at your profile, it looks good, and they pick it up straight away.
Yeah, I think it's the first step, man. It's not again, having said that, I understand that because it's not an easy job, as you mentioned, just moving, just moving countries. It's a hard one for sure, but then it goes, guys, do what you have to do, make the changes what you have to make. But yeah, make those changes, and probably that will be a great start. I'm going to cut it short now, but I think we've covered enough. Any questions, guys, you want us to talk about, please let us know. We're going to do this weekly, and we want to cover step by step and on how can you move to Australia from New Zealand. So thank you so much for the first podcast. Again, let us know what else you want us to cover. Talk to you very soon. Thank you so much. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thanks, man.